Hello, my name is Rachel Bernardino. I use they or she pronouns, and today I would like to chat with you kind of about how GLSEN overall and GLSEN Washington specifically works to support LGBTQ students and to create more inclusive schools. I already introduced myself a little bit, but I do like to touch on introductions and what's important in an introduction. So as I said, my name is Rachel Bernardino. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and she, her, hers. And my role is as an education and outreach coordinator with GLSEN Washington. It's important to ask for pronouns when doing introductions because you can't always know what pronouns somebody uses by what they look like. And it is a moniker to let folks know that you're in the know and you are a safe person and you want to be using their correct pronouns. Before getting into anything else, I would like to talk about GLSEN as a whole and really what our lens and scope is in this work. So GLSEN itself, our mission really is to focus on ensuring safe schools for all students, specifically regardless of sexual orientation and or gender identity. GLSEN's vision truly is a world in which every child learns to respect and accept all people. If GLSEN's mission is complete, we will be putting ourselves out of the job in a way. GLSEN also really has been intentionally focusing on an intersectional framework with the racial justice movement we're currently seeing, as well as a lot of other civil rights movements happening right now. GLSEN is working really hard to make sure that the work we do is intersectional. And just as Audre Lorde does say, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we don't live single issue lives. GLSEN as a organization is really working to make sure that we're addressing all issues and folks that are most impacted by a lot of these things. Because again, as Laverne Cox says, just existing for a lot of folks is a political act, and we want to make sure that we're recognizing all aspects of folks' identities in the work that we're doing. So GLSEN has been working with these issues and this population for almost 30 years. We started in 1990. We've been offering educational resources and trainings, original research, student leadership and action, policy advocacy, and we have about 40 local chapters throughout the United States currently. Research is one of GLSEN's big missions and something that is very important, and they were kind of the first to really look at the LGBTQ plus experience in K-12 schools. We have just been recently given the briefing for the 2019 National School Climate Survey. We do not have all the details or even our state snapshots yet, but we already do have information from this research showing how LGBTQ students are doing in school currently. These specific climate surveys focus on secondary ed students and are done biannually, so every 2 years. Since this is from 2019, we will be starting to collect new data in 2021, but for right now, 2019 is the most up-to-date numbers we have on our LGBTQ plus populations in schools. That being said, we do have some older research involving elementary school experiences, and even with older data, almost 1 in 10 students report that they do not conform to traditional gender norms, which is a huge percentage of our population at school. It's 8% of students identify as gender nonconforming in some way. This may not seem like a huge number of students. It is important when you realize that compared to other students, gender nonconforming students are more likely to be bullied and made fun of and verbally harassed. They're also more likely to have rumors and lies spread about them amongst their peers. They're more likely to miss school for safety reasons, and they are less likely to feel very safe at school than their gender-conforming peers. And this kind of follows into our 2019 National School Climate Survey, in which 86% of LGBTQ plus students were harassed or assaulted in some way at school, as well as 84% of trans students specifically felt unsafe at school because of their gender. And then we also have our LGBTQ students of color, where 2 in 5 were bullied or harassed based on their race or ethnicity as well. And sometimes people will say, oh, these are things that happen in school and it's part of growing and building character. But we do also have data that does show that anti-LGBTQ specific discrimination means more missed school, lower GPAs, lower self-esteem, and also that students are less likely to plan on going to college specifically, which is really scary and unfortunate. And one thing that we are working at GLSEN to kind of combat. The good news is that even with some of these scary, sounding things, that LGBTQ plus students at schools with comprehensive anti-bullying policies, teachers and school staff who are supportive, gender and sexuality alliances, and LGBTQ plus in curriculum does make LGBTQ plus students feel safer. To get a little bit more into the solution to these problems rather than the numbers of the problems themselves, when students are supported in school, they truly do excel. 60% of LGBTQ students said their school had a GSA in 2019, which is up in numbers from previous years. And then also those students at those schools with GSAs missed fewer days, were more likely to participate in community activism, they heard fewer homophobic and transphobic remarks while at school, and they also see twice as much intervention when homophobic remarks do happen than at a school that doesn't have a GSA. These GSAs also help students find a sense of belonging. 56% of students who have a GSA at their school have LGBTQ accepting peers compared to 30% of those without the GSA. So it decreases their negative school experiences, staff are more likely to intervene, and then with those two things, there is a greater positive educational outcome with these students as far as attendance, aspirations, and academic achievement. The really important and motivating thing we do see is that after 20 years of doing this research, dedicated support works. You can see that these graphs still aren't at zero, so there is still work to do, but that overall victimization based on sexual orientation has decreased over time and over GLSEN's work with public schools across the nation. I want to start with one of our most visible ways that we support LGBTQ students, which is with our National Days of Action with local schools, individuals, as well as GSA clubs around the U.S. Our first one is Solidarity Week. You may know this as Ally Week. It typically happens in the last week of September. This is due to student feedback and the racial justice movement and other things we're seeing. We really wanted to create something that helps folks learn about and practice solidarity with different identities within the LGBTQ plus community. We also do No Name Calling Week, which typically happens around the end of January. It's a week organized by K-12 educators and students to help end name calling and bullying in schools. It's really kind of in the idea of kindness in action and not just saying, oh, being kind is important, but actively being able to add kindness into our interactions and being with each other. One I want to talk about is our Day of Silence. It may be our most well-known. It's the last Friday of April, and it is a student-led national event where folks take vows of silence to highlight the silence and the treatment of LGBTQ plus people at our schools currently. You may have seen students not speaking for the day with signs, t-shirts, things like that that are supposed to highlight what LGBTQ plus students go through in our schools. Along with these days of action, GLSEN also has a plethora of resources, not only for students, but for educators as well. Our first one is kind of our hallmark. It's our GLSEN Safe Space Kit. It is for middle to high school teachers. It kind of works to help you promote visible support for your LGBTQ plus students, as well as a guide for certain things that may come up in your classroom and around the school. You get the guide, the safe space stickers, and the safe space poster. So if you're interested in this, you can purchase it on GLSEN's website. You can also contact us at GLSEN Washington, and we may be able to send you some as well. So that's always an option. For our elementary folk, we have Ready, Set, Respect, which is similar to our Safe Space Kit, but mostly for elementary students. It includes some K-6 lesson plans and focuses on that bullying, bias, inclusive family, and gender roles that are more common that we see in elementary settings. We also have LGBTQ plus history resources, everything from lesson plans to visuals to activities and other things that you can bring to your classroom. These can be standalone things, these can be integrated into a larger unit, they can be integrated even into a specific lesson that you're doing. Basically, if you're looking to put LGBT history into your classroom in some way, shape, or form, be sure to check out glsen.org/LGBTQ history because there's a lot of resources within that page. We've also worked to gather a lot of resources surrounding the trans student experience specifically. You can go to glsen.org/trans to see everything we have. It includes blogs from students and educators, videos, terminology, model policies if you need them or want to look at those, and different things that can basically help you understand how to better support your trans students in your classroom. Along with the specifics on trans students, we also have resources on gender identity itself. We do have a bunch of graphics and activities and things like that that kind of explain some of the terminology and the stuff that you may not be as familiar with just from your daily life. All the things that I've mentioned so far come from GLSEN National, which is our overhead organization. The cool thing is we do have one of the about 40 chapters in the nation is here. It's GLSEN Washington State. And I want to start with the professional development we offer. We do get curriculum from National, but we have our own professional development committee and facilitators that do facilitate our workshops and things like that for educators and other professionals that work with young LGBTQ people. I do want to call back to the GLSEN's 4 supports that create inclusive and safer schools for LGBTQ plus students, really with the focus on supportive educators. That's why we do professional development, is to help strengthen this part of the school and be able to train teachers to really be there and be that supportive adult in an LGBTQ student's life, as well as somebody that may be perpetrating some behavior that we're not so excited to see. Here in Washington, we offer a variety of professional development modules, all in 1, 3, and 6-hour sessions, depending on what you're looking for. We offer creating a safe space, inclusive curriculum, an elementary-focused professional development, trans and gender nonconforming support, mental health support and advocacy, as well as changing the game GLSEN sports, focused more for physical education and athletics departments. These are all the different areas that we can focus in, and we also really try to work with the site that we're going to be doing our professional development at to make sure that it's really relevant for you and your staff depending on what specific things you're looking for within the given topic. So along with the professional development that our chapter does, there are also some other things we do here specifically in Washington. The first one we have is our SHINE team. This is student leaders working on varying projects to create safer schools and communities throughout Washington. We have 15 to 20 members that are from all across the state and that are working in their own schools as well as within their communities to really do some of the groundwork as a youth LGBTQ plus student. They're building their professional skills, their networking, their project-based learning, all the way from brainstorming to evaluation of their projects. And they really offer this peer lens that we don't always have the luxury of as older people talking to LGBTQ plus youth. We also hold virtual GSA for youth across the state. We meet every 2 weeks. You can register on our website and find more details. We are doing activities, discussions, support, and more depending on the week. Keep up with our social media as well with what we're doing specifically each week for this. Also bi-weekly are our educator check-ins, teachers, GSA advisors, administrators, counselors. You are all welcome. We are working on supporting all students. We have a new topic every week that we present for the first half on, and then the second half is left for discussion or anything that's currently going on in your classroom, school, district, whatever. We are very excited to be able to offer clock hours for these at this point, so join us every other week to get an hour towards your professional development requirements. And remember that we do have time for that open discussion, so even if the topic that we're talking about isn't necessarily super pertinent to your classroom at the moment or your teaching, we do have time to discuss what is important to you. We really want to make sure that these are useful for you all and a good use of your time. So we do make sure that we leave plenty of time to answer questions, do scenarios, things like that with you all if necessary. Last but certainly not least is our annual LGBTQ plus Youth Leadership Conference. This is a one-day Saturday conference. There are multiple students and educator tracks throughout. We host local organizations and nonprofits to do workshops as well as table and really get to know you all, get you resources that you may find useful. We offer a variety of workshops and presentations, so everything from students being politically active all the way up to inclusive curriculum and how to include LGBTQ plus people in your classroom. This year we are doing it virtually just to stay safe, so you don't have to travel or anything, and above all, it is free for anyone to attend, which we really pride ourselves on being able to offer this space for y'all at no cost to you or your students. Thank you so much for learning more about GLSEN Washington and what we're able to do here at our state chapter. Please, we want you to stay connected with us. Follow us at GLSEN Wa, either on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's the way to stay most up to date with us. You can also visit our website and get a hold of us that way, or feel free to DM us on any of these platforms, and we will get back to you shortly. Look forward to chatting with you. Thanks.